The AI super agent race is on. This week, both OpenAI and Gemini released major updates in an attempt to dethrone Claude Cowork as the best AI agent for knowledge work. We'll dive into what those updates were, as well as all the other AI news from the past week that matters. My name is Paul J. Lipsky, and here on this channel, I talk about the AI that non-coders and non-technical users actually care about. There's a lot of noise out there, and it's my goal to help you make sense of it. Let's talk about the biggest news from the past week first. OpenAI released some major updates to Codex that makes it more friendly for knowledge work or everyday use, as they call it. Now, I know not everyone is familiar with what Codex is, and a lot of people still think, understandably, that it's just for coding. So I want to take a moment to explain what Codex is and why you should care about it. So let's actually look at the Claude desktop app for Mac first, because this has been around for a while. I think a lot of people are already familiar with it. I've certainly covered it a lot on my channel. Inside the Claude desktop app, there are three different tabs here. There is regular chat, which is the same way you would interact with any other AI chatbot, basically. Then we have Claude Cowork. I'll come back to this one. Then we have Claude Code, and this is really for coders and some more advanced users. And the one in the middle is Claude Cowork. This was designed for knowledge workers. It allows you to work on documents on your computer. It can create them for you. You can create websites using this, different artifacts. It can answer your emails for you. You can set up automations. It connects to third-party tools. So it's really designed for non-technical users to easily be able to use an AI agent to automate their knowledge work. Codex is OpenAI's answer to Claude Code and Claude Cowork. But instead of having separate tabs for all three things, everything is in this one interface, this one chat. There's no switching. So if you ask it a general question, it will adapt and treat it as a chat. If you ask it to do coding for you, it will adapt and code for you. And if you ask it to do knowledge work, it will basically turn into Cowork, the Cowork version of Codex. So there's no switching. Essentially, these two apps, if you think of Claude Cowork and Codex, can do the same things. There's differences in how they work and their capabilities, but at the end of the day, they're designed for the same purpose. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because this past week, Codex got a lot of updates that enabled this, that gave it sort of those co-work powers. Some of these are silly. So for instance, if you type /pet and you click on that, then on the bottom right-hand corner, we see this little pet that pops up. That's kind of cute. Another cool feature that I really like in Codex that isn't available in Cowork are these tasks. So as you're chatting with it, if something doesn't get done, it will add it here so that you can see things that you may want to follow up on. So for instance, earlier I had it look through all my emails and sort of triage them. And then based on that, it actually made a list here of emails that I should respond to or take action on. Then all I had to do was click on any of them and it automatically started getting to work fixing that problem or completing the task or replying or drafting the reply to the emails. Just like with Cowork, we have connectors, although here in Codex, they call them plugins, and there are automations. So you see, there are a lot of similarities, but there are also differences as well. Now, it's too early right now for me to say which one I like better. There's a huge debate online right now about which one is better, but I think a lot of people are just super excited that there's something new like Codex. So what I'm going to be doing is over the next 3 days, I'm going to be testing this more. I've already moved a lot of my workflows over to Codex just to try them out. So far happy with it, but I really want to give it a much more thorough testing. And then next week, I'm going to do a video head-to-head Codex versus Cowork to see which one is better for knowledge work. So if you don't want to miss out on that video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like I said before, Gemini has also rolled out some interesting changes. We'll talk about those in a minute, but first I want to introduce a new segment to my weekly AI news recap, which I'm calling Prompt of the Week. This is a prompt that has been going viral or that I found to be interesting that you can throw into your AI chat of choice to get some interesting or sometimes funny results. So this week's prompt of the week is this prompt that turns any image you have into this clumsy, scribbly, and utterly pathetic drawing. So I tried this out myself. I first tried it with Nano Banana 2. This is what it came up with. Then I tried it with GPT Image 2, and these were the results. And for good measure, I also use Nano Banana Pro. I'll have to say that Nano Banana Pro was way too professional with this. And I think the results in this case from Image 2, GPT Image 2 came out the best. Although it's kind of hard to tell just because it's purposely such a bad drawing. Now, last week when I first talked about GPT Image 2, I wasn't quite ready to say which model I liked better, Nano Banana or GPT Image 2, but I think I've finally figured it out for myself. And just like I suspected last week, there's not one clear winner. So I've done a bunch of comparisons back and forth between the models, even throwing in Nano Banana Pro. And what I gotta say is I think that Image 2 is really good when you don't give it an image to edit. Like if you just tell it to come up with something with just a text prompt, it makes stunning images, things that look really, really nice, and consistently it does that. Whereas with Nano Banana, it is really good at editing images. So here, for instance, I asked it to change my expression to mad, and Nano Banana 2 did an excellent job of that, whereas GPT Image 2 did a terrible job at that. So for me, if I'm starting from scratch trying to come up with something, I'm going to use GPT Image 2. But if I want to edit images, then I'm definitely going to use Nano Banana for them because I just think they come out much better. But that brings me to the next news segment for my weekly news recap, which is Question of the Week. And I want to hear your opinion. So if you've tried out GPT Image 2 and you've been using Nano Banana, any version of it in the past, which one do you like better? Let me know in the comments section down below and let's have a discussion about it. Next, let's quickly cover the newest update to Google Gemini. They have rolled out file creation. So now Gemini can create all types of files directly in the chat. For instance, here I asked it to do some research on Codex versus Claude Cowork and to create a markdown file with its findings. So instead of just sending me the answer in the chat like it normally does, here we have a markdown file that I can actually download with all the information inside of it. And testing this out, I've been able to do this with a lot of different file types. We have PDFs, Excel documents, rich text format, Word documents, PowerPoints. So just a long, long list of different supported file types. And it can directly make files inside of Google Drive for you. That's docs and sheets. So here, for instance, it created this Google Doc for me. I can click on this, open it up in Docs, and even come to Gemini down here to describe any changes that I wanted to make. I won't spend a lot more time on this particular update because I actually made an entire video about it, which I'll have linked in the card up above. One thing I didn't say in that video though is that all of this works on mobile. So for instance, you could create slide decks on the go directly inside of Gemini. It's very handy. Now, this is very different from what Anthropic and OpenAI are doing with the tools that we talked about earlier. This is Google's approach to solving what is essentially the same issue. How do we get AI to help regular people and make their lives easier? For super technical users, they may scoff at what I just said and say that this is nowhere near as powerful as Codex or Claude Cowork, and they would absolutely be correct. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if this Gemini and Google Workspace, if that is a tool that is the easiest for people to use and actually gets them results. In addition to that, Google I/O is less than 3 weeks away, and I think we're going to get some big updates from Google then. So we should really stay tuned and see what they're cooking up. And we'll talk about one other Gemini update along with some NotebookLM updates. But first, let's hear real quick from today's sponsor, i10x. i10x gives you access to all the top AI models in one workspace. So when you come over to the chat, you have the option of choosing between OpenAI models like GPT-5.5, Google's models like Gemini 3.1 Pro, XAI, Anthropic, DeepSeek, and ZAI, all from within one chat. They also have things like external connectors, so you can connect this up with tools like Zoom, YouTube, Telegram, Stripe, Slack. You see there's a long list here actually. And you can even turn on things like web search, memory, and knowledge bases. Since you have access to so many models, it can sometimes be confusing knowing which one to choose. And that's when you want to try out Chat Arena. This will allow you to select 2 different models and send one chat to see which response you like better. That way you can compare the 2 of them and know which model to use going forward. If you want your chat to be grounded only in information that you give it, you can try out Chat PDF. Here you can upload a file and then chat with the information inside that file. There's also image and video generation. So here inside the image generator, you can choose between OpenAI models, Google models, and Flux. And for videos, you can choose models from OpenAI, Kling, and Minimax. For more advanced users, there are things like agent builders and automations, and you can even upload knowledge bases that contain sources of information that you can then chat with in the chat. i10x starts at just $8 a month if you go with annual billing, or $10 a month if you pay month to month. That includes 5,000 uses of basic models, 200 uses of advanced models, and 2,500 credits for things like image and video generation. But for just $17.50 a month, you can get unlimited use of basic models, unlimited use of advanced models, and 7,500 i10x credits. If you want to try it out for yourself, I'll have a link for it in the description down below, along with a coupon code to get an additional 10% off. And thank you i10x for sponsoring this video. Okay, like I said, there's one other Gemini update, and this one is actually on the iOS version, although this is also on Android, but I'll show it from my iPhone. The update, this was very silently rolled out. There was no real announcement about it. I first tweeted about it last week because I didn't see anyone else talking about it, and everyone was like, whoa, when did this come out? So by the way, if you want to follow me on X, you can do that at Paul J. Lipsky. Anyway, here in Gemini, the update is down here on the bottom right. We have the dictation button. Normally, or in the past, I should say, when you press this, you start talking, and as soon as you stop talking, like even if there's a slight pause, it would stop recording and send it along. It was terrible. It's been fixed now. So now when you press on that microphone button, you can start talking. It will listen to you. And if you pause, it will keep listening to you until you're ready. Once you're done, you have 2 buttons here. The first one will just stop it and transcribe it. The second one will transcribe it and immediately send it along. That's the one that I've been using. This has been such a nice update to have. It was so annoying the way that it worked before, and now it's finally usable. So thank you, Google's team or Gemini's team for actually fixing that. Let's move on now to NotebookLM. So first, I reported a few weeks ago that notebooks are now inside Gemini. This will allow you to not only chat with the information inside of any of these notebooks, but it also is a folder organization system where all the chats that you start inside that notebook will appear right here in the notebook. They're not going to appear in the all chat section. So it's a great way to stay organized. This has now been rolled out for all free and paid users, and is also available on mobile for all free and paid users as well. That may not be for all regions. I know like Europe doesn't get a lot of features, unfortunately, but at least for the United States, it should be out for everyone. This is awesome because not having it on mobile was really annoying, but now the experience is the same. There's another update to NotebookLM. So coming into any of your notebooks, first of all, if you didn't know this came out a few weeks ago, but you can now customize the cover of your notebooks. So if you click right here where it says customize, you can change what the notebook title is. You can change the summary of the notebook, and you can even upload an image that will appear. And then it will look like this. And where this is particularly helpful is if you return back to the dashboard that shows you all your notebooks, it makes it a lot easier to find your notebooks when you have an image as a background. Now, the next update is, so that's not a new update. That's been out for like a week or so. But the next update just came out within the past week, and it is a big one. It's actually a lot more important than I think most people realize. Unfortunately, I don't have access to it on this account, which is crazy because this is an AI Ultra subscription. So I should have the latest updates. Fortunately for you, I pay for multiple Google AI subscriptions, so I can always make sure I have all the latest features to show you. So this is a pro account, and in this one, I do have the new feature. You can see it right here. There's a new button. When you hover over it, it says auto label sources by topic. If you click on this, it will then automatically start sorting through your sources. And then it puts all the sources into these different labels. You can click on the little arrow to see all the sources inside that label. Also, it's important to know that sources can exist in multiple labels, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Now, next to all the labels are these three dots. You can click on these and you can rename the label, you can remove it entirely, or you can give it an emoji and you can choose whichever one you want. Next to the sources, you will also see three dots, and clicking on that menu, you can choose which labels to add or remove. So again, you can have multiple labels like this one has, but let's say I disagree with this one, I can remove that one and maybe give it a different label. Once it sorts through the list once, if you click on the sort button again, you're given a few choices. First, you can add a custom label. Click on that, you can see we have a new label, which I can then rename. You can also click reorganize, which will then automatically reorganize it and it will undo everything you've done. So if you've created custom labels, what else will be undone? If you move sources to other labels, all that will be undone. So you probably don't want to do that too often, but you can also return to list view by clicking return to list view. And the good news is that it saves the labels. So I just clicked it again and it brought back the label list that we had before. So nothing is lost. Now, besides just being a really nice way to organize your sources, I think this is much more helpful than most people realize, because now this allows you to hone in when you're using chat or building things in Studio. So let's say, for instance, you're a student, you could have one notebook for every class, but within a class, you study multiple subjects. Well, now you can select or create a new label for each subject and put your sources for that subject in that label. So as the semester goes on, let's say you have a test on this subject. You would select this one and then chat to learn about that subject, or create things like audio overviews or flashcards to learn that subject. Then later on semester, you're studying this topic. So you can select this one. And then at the end of the semester, you can select all of them for the final. I think this is a lot more organized and a lot easier to be able to choose exactly what sources you want to use. So those are the newest updates for NotebookLM. A couple other final interesting things that I want to cover before we get to the last new installment to the weekly AI news update, which is the meme of the week. So first, OpenAI released a prompting guide for GPT-5.5. A prompting guide basically tells users how they should prompt or talk to the AI model that they're using. And the good news is that OpenAI is recommending that you actually do shorter prompts, because the newest model is better at understanding how to accomplish your goals. So all you have to do is tell it what you want to achieve and your goals, and you should then let GPT 5.5 figure out the way to get there. And we're seeing that pretty consistently across the board for both OpenAI models and for Anthropic's models. You have to give them less information and you have to allow them to find their own way to get to the goal that you want. So this is good news for non-technical people who don't want to spend half their day just crafting the perfect prompt. The next bit of interesting news is that Spotify is rolling out Verified by Spotify. It's either going to identify AI music as AI or non-AI music as non-AI. I'm not sure which one, but the point is it should be a lot clearer now to users what is generated by AI and what isn't. I think this is extremely important. I would like to see this on every single platform, YouTube in particular, Facebook. I think it is really needed. Older generations spend a lot of time on Facebook, and a lot of very non-technical people who are easily fooled spend a lot of time on Facebook. So I think something on there to let people know that what they're looking at is or isn't AI generated is extremely important. So that's all the news I have for the week. But let's look at the meme of the week. This isn't necessarily going to be a meme every week. It's just something funny that I saw during the week related to AI. This week, I actually have two for you. So the first one is that Apple rolled out some update and they accidentally left a Claude.md file in the update, which indicated that they're using something like Claude Code to actually code this out. And then a couple of hours later, it was removed with an emergency update by Apple. So I did think that was a little bit funny, to be honest. And then second, I follow this guy on X called Peter Yang, and he tweeted out, has anyone figured out how to generate YouTube thumbnails with GPT Image 2 yet? Do they have a good prompt? He got some really serious and helpful answers, and then someone sent him this, which, tying into the earlier one, I think is absolutely hilarious. So that's all the AI news from the past week that I think actually matters. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notifications because I do a news update like this every single week. So if you want to make sure you're staying on top of the latest AI news, definitely want to subscribe and have the bell on and check out my weekly news recaps. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.